about Joe Burrow and his baby hands. And all that's coming up after the bumper.
Don't be cornering me. Hold up. Time. You gotta help me with that corner shit.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. Consider hitting the like and subscribe button because I upload a video every single day. It's always college football related, sports related. We have a good time. Today, I want to talk about Joe Burrow and his baby hands because apparently this is still a thing. Now, I should underscore here, right? The average hand for an NFL quarterback, this hand size, is about 9 inches and like 7 1/4, right? So it's about 10 inches. Tua Tagovailoa's hands are about 10 inches. And this is a big deal because the football is a large football. Anybody that's ever tried to throw an NFL football knows that sometimes your hands just aren't big enough to toss it. And this is one of the reasons why we do things like criticize a guy for his genetics. Famously, it's been about height here of late, though I'm waiting on someone to tell me Tua Tagovailoa needs to be playing wide receiver because he's 6 feet tall, when folks wanted to tell me that Kyler Murray should consider the opportunity to play another position, same as they deal with Lamar Jackson, either because they're slight of build or because they don't think they're tall enough to play the position, right? Both of those guys won awards in the NFL last year. Kyler Murray, NFL Offensive Rookie of the Year, and Lamar Jackson, the first unanimous MVP pick since Tom Brady had one of the best seasons we've seen from a quarterback in quite some time. But also in there is guys like Ryan Tannehill and Jared Goff also have basically the same hand size as Joe Burrow. All Jared Goff has done is played in the Super Bowl. All Ryan Tannehill did was usurp a Heisman winner in former Oregon quarterback Marcus Mariota, and lead his team to a win against those same Baltimore Ravens, right, in the playoffs. So I'm not really that caught up on how big a guy's hands are unless his name is Ja'Cory Harris, in which case it became very clear that that man was going to have a very hard time really just throwing the football. So, I don't know, the microphone's just kind of bugging me right now. In talking about this, I think the meat market does a great job of, one, giving us all of these measurements that we might find useless, might find helpful, unless you're Chip Kelly and then you're really measuring how big a guy's joints are, and that leads you to draft Lane Johnson, who is your best offensive lineman for the Philadelphia Eagles and helped you win a Super Bowl. So it matters in some cases, it doesn't matter in others, and we don't ever know until these guys play in the National Football League. One of the things that I find interesting about Joe Burrow is how he's not getting labeled with the same, label that Baker Mayfield got of being too cocky. And I'm interested in walking this out because I believe he's quarterback of the best college football team of all time. And if that dude can't be cocky, who can be? Now, Baker went into a Cleveland Browns situation looking to be the change agent. We're still waiting on that to occur. But he had a pretty outstanding rookie season where he threw much more touchdown passes in his rookie season than Peyton Manning and Russell Wilson, right? So we all expect him to be great, and he is a franchise quarterback. Joe Burrow is not going into a situation, if the Cincinnati Bengals indeed draft him, and we all think that that's what's going to happen, that's as dire as the Browns. But Carson Palmer criticized the organization over and over again because he did not believe that they were all in on winning a championship. Making the playoffs just seemed fine for them, either with Andy Dalton and Marvin Lewis. Now we're looking at Zach Taylor. He of Norman, Oklahoma, stand-up Oklahoma, Nebraska alumnus, and Joe Burrow. We think, right? We think. And if A.J. Green isn't really A.J. Green anymore, who's he going to be throwing the football to? But that's down the road right now. I'm back to Joe Burrow, and one, him taking a shot at people on Twitter saying, hey, send your prayers because feels like I'm going to have to retire early because my hands are, not big enough to throw a football. Also, the NCAA football, the NCAA football is not a small football. As you can very well see, it's bigger than my head, right? But doesn't stop me from throwing it. Matter of fact, I want to go out there and throw it right now. But this is about what Joe Burrow had to work with, and the NFL football is not a whole lot larger than this one right here in my hand. And this is where Deflategate has legs, right? Because if you take some of the air out of the football, it's easier to grip, it's easier to throw, especially in colder weather where the ball tends to slip. And now I want to go out there and I want to play some quarterback. Really want to throw this football all of a sudden. But I'm also very excited to see what Joe Burrow looks like. I don't know if he's going to throw at his pro day. I don't know why he would. We all learned that Chase Young among others, is not going to participate in the drills at the NFL Combine. He, like many of the guys that we expect to go in the first round, probably won't do all of the drills. Like, we're all excited to see some things. Like, I want to see how fast Jerry Jeudy is, right? I want to see how fast CeeDee Lamb is. We expect Jeudy to be faster than Lamb, but it'll be also interesting to see which one of those guys look better in the wide receiver drills, in catching footballs, in running through those drills, in the high jump, in the broad jump, in the vertical jump. I'm also really excited to see what kind of a time Henry Ruggs throws down. Video released like last year where the Alabama defensive backs put together a 4x1 and the Alabama wide receivers put together a 4x1. Henry Ruggs made sure that the wide receivers won that 4x1. Both sets of four were just phenomenally fast. And Jerry Jeudy has an opportunity to throw down 4-4. But Jalen Waddle, who might have been the best athlete on that 2019 team last year, believes that Henry Ruggs is ready to throw down an absolute time. He had predicted 4.22 in the 40-yard dash. I think a lot of people expect him to try to take on John Ross's record at the Combine. He might be the first guy to go sub 4.2 at the Combine. I'd be very excited to see that. I don't know whether or not that translates to the NFL and things other than kick returns and run and go routes, but we all know that he was outstanding for Alabama, and he can be outstanding in the NFL. We're also going to really wait and see which one of the defensive linemen, offensive linemen throws down a time, because if Neville Gallimore is able to get anywhere close to Quinnen Williams' 4.8 time, I would expect that guy to vault into the first round, because interior defensive linemen are at a premium in the National Football League. I mean, it goes quarterback, it goes pass rusher, it goes slot corner, right? That's what you need. And you need the slot corner and the pass rusher to work in concert, because pass rush is affected by pass coverage and pass coverage is affected by pass rush. But if you don't have a quarterback, it doesn't really matter now, does it? And that's where the Miami Dolphins become very interesting with 3 first-round picks, right? Including number 5, number 18. So they also have all of the draft capital in this thing and high draft picks going into 2021. So if they want to make some moves and perhaps maybe Tua Tagovailoa's not there, or they just want to trade up to go get Joe Burrow, they can do that. And because the National Football League is such a quarterback-driven league, we are doing things like saying Miami can really screw up the draft by just taking the wrong quarterback, even with all these picks. We are doing things like saying Joe Burrow's hands might not be big enough to grip the football, except we've seen dudes that set records at Cal and in the Pac-12, Jared Goff, and what I call the remote control, absolutely made it all the way to Super Bowl throwing that football, right? Ryan Tannehill came out of nowhere last year to put on what I think is probably the best 6-game stretch of any quarterback in the league last year, and was this close to getting his team into the Super Bowl. Of course, Kansas City Chiefs, team of destiny, coming back from 3 scores to go and win the Super Bowl in Miami. But all of that is to say, Jimmy Garoppolo was the reason that the 49ers did not beat the Kansas City Chiefs, and Patrick Mahomes was the reason that the Kansas City Chiefs beat the 49ers. Aaron Rodgers was out there with Devontae Adams and sock puppets, willing his team into a playoff they had no business being a part of, right? It's the reason why we're still having a conversation about when are the Dallas Cowboys just gonna add up and throw Dak Prescott his money. They claim that there's been an offer on the table since going back to September of about $33 million annually, but there have not been any discussions between Dak's camp and the Cowboys since then. They're supposed to meet this week, but with the collective bargaining agreement very much on the table right now and being negotiated, it's interesting to see what kind of money is still out there, what kind of money is going to be added to it. We've already seen that the owners think that they're giving some money, about $5 billion, to the player pool, but that leads me to believe that the Players Association needs to find out what else is out there, because the NFL owners aren't going to just give you money out of their good graces, right? All of this while we are backdrop with the NFL Scouting Combine, where we're going to see some phenomenal athletic feats, I'm sure of that, but we're also going to have all of these discussions about hand size, about ligament size, about 6 feet and a quarter versus 5'10". And some of it is going to absolutely matter and some of it is not, but the stories that come out of it are the things that I am here for. All right. What else did I want to say about that? There's a thing I want to say. Oh yeah, Joe Burrow with this bit about Alabama wanting him to be third string. Joe Burrow, I don't really understand why you got a conniption about this. You weren't known to much of anybody outside of Ohio, and Ohio State did take you, and you did have a broken hand or were coming off of a broken hand, and you didn't stay to compete with the man who went number 12 overall in the 2019 draft. So what did you want them to tell you? That you would show up and you would really compete with Tua Tagovailoa to be the starting quarterback? I mean, they would have let you think that. But no, you would not have been the guy at Alabama. You wouldn't have been the guy at Ohio State to let you walk that out. That's why you left. There are only a handful of places where I think you would have been, and none of them are really Power 5 conference champs. You went to the one where you were ordered crawfish, and Ed Orgeron made the dude go out and get it, and they wanted you at LSU. You took them to a Fiesta Bowl in one year, and you took them to the greatest season in college football history in another. You can only be chippy for so long, but when you're on the top of the mountain, nobody wants to hear about you being chippy. All right, baby hands? Deuces.